What's going on, everybody, and welcome into The Point After with Mitch Kaiser. I'm your host, Mitch Kaiser. Happy Wednesday. Happy Draft Day Eve. We are officially one day away from the NFL Draft, everyone's favorite weekend of the year. I know I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait for tomorrow night. Can't wait for rounds 2 and 3 and 4 through 7 on Saturday. And can't wait to talk it all over and review it with you guys on Sunday and do some NFL Draft points after. Going to give my points after on that, but wanted to do a little bonus episode for you in the middle of the week today. Wanted to reveal my final big board, my final top 40 prospects in this NFL draft, the 2026 NFL draft. I know we've been doing a lot of mock drafting these days, which we're going to do one final mock draft tomorrow. I'm going to do a predictive mock, and then I'm going to offer you guys a what I would do mock if I were the GM of all these teams and based off my draft board. So kind of giving you guys my perspective here. Obviously, we just did a mock with Dalton on Monday, which is more – all the mocks we've been doing for Mondays have been predictive and kind of what we think is going to happen. But real quick, here's a little TED Talk on mock drafting and my opinion that I've had for years. I have always thought that we've got the whole idea of mock drafting all wrong. I think we've kind of doing it backwards, honestly. It feels like the whole, and I'm talking like actual famous draft analysts who are way more experienced than I am. Like not me. I'm talking like the guys like McShay's, the Kuipers of the world, even Mike Renner of the world. But I think everyone is trying to get the picks right based on what they're hearing and based on what they think is going to happen. Now, that doesn't even mean those players will be good. That doesn't mean those players are the right players to pick. That doesn't mean it was the smart pick. However, if you get it right in your mock draft, it means you're quote-unquote plugged in, quote-unquote knowledgeable in sports, quote-unquote knowledgeable in football, draft analysis, whatever. But if that player ends up sucking, then what difference does it make? And then your analysis was wrong and the guy stinks and you shouldn't have drafted him maybe. I have always said the objective should not be to get the players right in your mock draft. The objective should be to find the best 32 players. That should be the point of this. We're all looking for the best 32 players in the first 32 picks. It never works out that way. You're never going to find it like that because obviously positional value, some teams draft for needs, some teams don't. But just because you get the picks right doesn't mean those players should have gone in that order. They could all end up sucking for their respective teams, and then you just wasted all those draft picks. For example, take like a fourth-round player or fourth-round draft pick who ends up being good and succeeding for his team and getting a second contract and being a helpful winning player. He's probably one of the 32 best players from that class, whatever his class was, but he would never be talked about as such, or if you mocked him that way, you would have gotten laughed at. So it's like, what are you talking about? So the best example I use for this is a guy like Ivan Pace. Ivan Pace, a linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings. Very good linebacker. Just got a rookie contract extension, I believe, a big extension. I would have forget the exact numbers, but Ivan Pace has been a dog for the Vikings. He's been a dog going back to the Bearcats, Cincinnati Bearcats, even going back to Miami Redhawks. This guy has been a beast every step of the way in his football career, dominating competition everywhere he stepped on the field. When he joined Cincinnati and made the jump from the MAC to the Big 12 that year, he was the best defensive player in all of college football, and no one can tell me otherwise. I literally said this guy's going to be one of the best players from this draft class, and he didn't even get drafted. He was literally a UDFA because he was 5'10", and all these draft nerds tell me, oh, he's not going to be able to play because of his size. He's not good enough. Well, I just saw him be the best college defensive player in the country for a whole season, and now he's inarguably one of the best 32 players from that draft class, and I'm betting a lot of teams were wishing they would have selected and drafted Ivan Pace somewhere along the way. I mean, there's over 200 draft picks, and you couldn't find a place for Ivan Pace, like the best defensive player in college football that season. I don't care that he was an undersized linebacker. The guy was a monster every step of the way, and all he does is put up production and put up elite numbers, graded out elite everywhere he went. So that's my quick tangent on that. That's my I could go on a rant like that all day, but I just want to get that out there because I really think we're missing the point. Like, who cares if you're plugged in and you're just like, take the Jets for example. Right now, I believe in my heart the Jets are going to take Arvell Reese. I don't think Arvell Reese is the second best player in the draft class. We're going to get into my big board here in a second. I would take Ruben Bain. I've said that many times. But it sounds like they're going to take Arvell Reese for better or worse. Reese could end up being the better player. Who knows? But until like 4 years down the line, we're not going to know. So my thing is always just like, maybe you should just go for the best player. But yeah. All right. So it seems like people just want to draft based on what they're hearing on Twitter instead of even analyzing the players. Like, let's worry less about what Adam Schefter is telling us, and let's worry more about the tape and the film watching and the actual scouting of these players to determine which of these are actually going to be successful in the NFL, and not just roll the dice on this guy because, some guy on Twitter told me I have to take this player here. That's silly. That's nonsense. Do your homework, scout these guys, take the best player. You could have an entirely different big board than someone else. And we're going to get into mine here. And I've got a couple players that I've not seen on many other people's big boards that I'm higher on. And at the end of the day, like, I just believe in my heart these guys are going to be better players when it's all said and done in their careers. And we'll go from there. So, but yeah, like, when I said Ivan Pace was going to be good in the NFL, like, people laughed at that a few years ago. And now it's like, what are you talking about? He's one of the best players at his position. So, all right. Moving on to my big board, let's quickly go over it here. This won't be a long episode. Just going to spend a few minutes on each player. So my top overall player in this draft class is Caleb Downs from Ohio State. I think Caleb Downs is the best football player in the class. I don't know if it's close. I know he's a safety. I do not care in this one. This guy has been the best safety in college football for 3 seasons now. He's one of the only true freshmen to start for Nick Saban in college football history. So, like, that is amazing proxy right there. You don't just do that unless you are different. The speed this guy possesses, the athleticism, the football IQ he has. He's such a high floor player, and it literally just feels like he's going, like, it almost feels like there's no way he's not a Pro Bowl safety and a potential All-Pro someday for whoever drafts him. I don't know if he's going to go super high. I think it's silly that we're doubting his positional value and overthinking his safety, just like we did Kyle Hamilton, who is now incredible. John Harbaugh might get Caleb Downs again, like he got Kyle Hamilton to fall to him at 10, or at 14, and Caleb Downs now could go at 10 to the Giants. So Downs is my top player in this class. I think he's the best overall draft prospect. It went in like 10 years from now, I think he's going to be an all-pro safety, and we're going to look back in a redraft and be like, why did he not go top 3? Like, I think we're all overthinking this one, and you should just take Caleb Downs. So, number 2 is a teammate of Caleb Downs on the same defensive unit, Sonny Styles, who I think is the better pure linebacker on his own team compared to Arvell Reese, who everyone else has higher than Sonny Styles. Arvell is a better pass rusher and holds the better, pass rushing physical tools, but Styles is just an attacking linebacker who plays downhill, has elite speed for his position, elite size and strength, movement skills are strong. His experience and production was elite in college. As you can see, 88.6 PFF grade. This is another player I think guys are just overthinking because he's a linebacker, and it's the positional value. I think he's going to go 5th overall to the Giants. He's my 2nd overall player in this class. I wrote about Sonny Styles a couple years ago at PFF. He was one of my breakout candidates back when he was a safety, and now he converted to linebacker. So think about that. Think about that athleticism. Think about the body he plays with on that position. Just insane. But it also makes his coverage skills special. So his brother Lorenzo Styles, who ran one of the fastest 40s, is a safety. Sonny holds those same coverage skills as his brother almost. It's kind of crazy. So that's why I've got him number 2. Number 3 is Ruben Bain Jr. So I have been hyping up this guy since he was a true freshman. For 3 years now, I've been writing about this guy all the way back to his first few games at Miami. He was grading elite in PFF pass rushing numbers. He was always on team of the week, freshman of the week, you name it, putting up crazy sack totals, putting up great run defense numbers. I mean, we saw it in the playoffs. I don't care about this guy's arm length. I care about the strength he plays with. I care about the force and the impact he plays with and the amount of force he brings every single down. If you want power, go with Ruben Bain. He is a year younger than the next pass rusher, which is why I have Bain slightly above David Bailey. But I almost think people are falling off David Bailey a little too much now. And I'm almost questioning myself, am I missing something here? Because, you look at the data, you look at the production and the numbers past the eye test, and you watch him on tape, and I'm like, he's pretty fast. This speed is pretty insane for an edge rusher, but I understand he doesn't have the bend that a lot of edge guys do. He doesn't have the power and the strength that Ruben Bain plays with. But he put up better sack numbers and put up almost the exact same production as only a year older. His pass rush win rate was 23%. I'm not overthinking David Bailey. I would take him 4th overall if I were the Tennessee Titans. That's why he's my 4th best player. If you want to go Bain, if you want to go Bailey above Bain, I'm not going to fight you on it, honestly. I think they're close enough in tape, to be honest. So number 5 might be my favorite player in this draft class, and that is Jordan Tyson. I think the athleticism this guy possesses, the route running ability, the catch point ability, catch radius, everything about him screams Justin Jefferson. Now, I've been using that comp for weeks, and again, it's not a production comp. I am not saying he's going to be the best receiver in the NFL like Jefferson has been in his time. But he has absolutely wide receiver 1 ability. He has absolutely star potential, all-pro potential. The only concern right now is the medical concern. The medical history, the injuries, people are doubting that. People are questioning that. I'm not worried about it as much because I think when he is healthy, he's the best receiver in the class by far. I think Carnell Tate is a very good wide receiver too. We're going to get to him in a second, but I don't think he rivals Tyson. And if I'm building an offense right now, Tyson is definitely my wide receiver 1 and Tate is my wide receiver 2. The chemistry Tyson had with quarterback Sam Leavitt was second to none. I mean, he would almost just throw it up and Jordan would go get it. Elite catch radius, elite jumping ability, elite route running ability. This guy would just game on the line, come up clutch, make play after play when it counts. And again, I saw a tweet that said, if you watch a silhouette of Jordan Tyson running routes, you'd think you're watching Justin Jefferson. And that's pretty similar. So, yeah, spot on. Moving on, number 6. So this guy is 6th on my big board, but he's going to go number 1 overall. We know that. That's Fernando Mendoza, quarterback from Indiana. I like Mendoza. Now, 6 is not a knock to him. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. The reason he's 6th, though, and not higher, not just first, is when it comes to drafting number 1 overall quarterbacks, you really have to be different and you really have to stand out among all elite prospects. So, I've said this on this show a couple times that Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback prospect I've ever scouted. Now, he has not exactly been the best quarterback in the NFL from those scouted quarterbacks, but entering the draft, if I were to re-rank my quarterback rankings, I would have Trevor Lawrence 1st overall. Then I would probably have Joe Burrow 2nd. And then Drake May, I think, is elite. You guys know I'm the biggest Drake May fan, so I was higher on Drake than anyone. So I like to pretend I saw this coming, but Trevor Lawrence was still top. I don't think Mendoza rivals those guys, any of them. I think he's even probably lower than Cam Ward, if I'm being honest. So it's just the physical tools. He doesn't have rare physical gifts. He's not a crazy good athlete. Doesn't have the biggest arm strength, best arm talent. I mean, he's got a good arm, got good tools, good size. The leadership capabilities and the personality is what makes him stand out. And that's why I think he's ultimately going to be successful, is his football IQ. But it's not going to be because of his, rocket arm or unrivaled athleticism like Josh Allen has. So, all right, number 7, this is just positional value alone. Jeremiah Love is a better prospect at his position than Fernando Mendoza is. That's no secret in that, but I just valued quarterbacks way more than I do running backs. I love Jeremiah Love. I think he's going to be outstanding in the NFL. I am just lower on the positional value of running backs and where you should be taking them in the draft than others. I would not take one in the top 10 if I were making the picks, but I understand Love is absolutely going to go top 10, and he's absolutely a top 10 prospect, top 10 player in this class. He's a blue chipper for sure. Going to be one of the best running backs in the league for a long time. I truly believe that. I mean, he's an alien out there. Just watch the tape, man. His frame, his athleticism, coordination, you name it. I just worry when drafting running backs because I said this on a podcast last week that if the Cardinals took him top 3, third overall, he is instantly the 7th highest paid running back in the NFL already. So that could be a concern, is all I'm saying. Like, I don't know if I want to be paying my rookie running back that much money already. So that's just my concern. In terms of like on-field and off-field ability, this guy has everything. This guy's a face guy. This guy, you want him talking to the mic, you want him talking to fans, you want him talking to the media. You're drafting the whole player as we said about, or the whole person as we said about Saquon Barkley. Very similar to that. So that is why I believe he's going to go high, but I would probably take him a little lower in the first round. Number 8 is Carnell Tate. I love Carnell Tate. I think he's going to be an absolute weapon in the NFL. I think he's going to be a stud opposite someone as well. I just think he is a wide receiver 2 on a good team. I think that's his best role. It's like a T. Higgins role on a really good football team, being a wide receiver 2. He's never been a 1 at Ohio State. That's not necessarily his fault. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith is always going to be the best receiver on his football team, but I do worry a little bit if Carnell Tate doesn't have an elite receiver on the other side and what that will look like ultimately. So that's why I just have him a little lower, but I still think he's a top 10 player. I still think people are sleeping on him a little bit. I would have him way above Mekhi Lemon, which we'll get to. All right, number 10. I'm a little biased on this one. I wanted to get this guy in the top 10. That's Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, my guy out of the Toledo Rockets. Love me some action. Big Toledo fan. Always have been. I think this guy has the same tools that Quinyon Mitchell possessed in the secondary for same team. They were teammates 2 years ago. EMW is going to become the third ever Toledo Rocket to go first round. Assuming so. I mean, it would be crazy if he falls out of the first round, in my opinion. I think he showed everything you want to know when at the combine. That he can hang with the big dogs, and I think Quinyon has more than proven that in the NFL. Obviously won a Super Bowl in his first year, and I think EMW is going to do that too. So, I'm biased because I'm a Toledo fan, but this guy I think is easily a top 15 player in this class. Big explosive safety, and projects as elite at creating turnovers. That is his strength. King of the forced fumble was what Dalton Wasserman called him on their show Preferred Walk-On. So that's why we love EMW. A top 10 player on my board. So number 11 is Jermon McCoy. So McCoy may have been a little higher if he played this year because this guy was elite in 2024. The 2024 tape trumps any cornerback's tape in 2025. He just didn't play. Possesses elite size and speed and measurables for a cornerback. Going to be a CB1 at the next level. I have him a little above Mansour Delane, who is my 12th overall prospect. Mansour, I think, is going to go higher because he is not coming off a torn ACL and did play all the season. So that's why I think Mansour will go higher. But I think McCoy has better physical tools and the better potential to be the best cornerback from this class at the next level. Delane is no slouch, though. I love Delane as well. Another secondary guy is Dylan Thieneman. Man, this guy is an absolute ball hawk, man. I love watching this guy play. This guy is versatile. This guy excels in running downhill. This guy knows where the ball is going to be. Ball hawk, like we said, picked off Drew Aller in double overtime in the game winner of the Penn State-Oregon game. Plays like Harrison Smith in the secondary. Obviously a white safety, but plays stronger than he looks out there. Big-time athlete, big-time baller, competitor, good attitude. Definitely a guy you want on your football team. I love Dylan Thieneman, and I'm excited to see where he ends up. Number 14. So this is my OT1, and this might shock a lot of people. I've seen people on Twitter making fun of me for this, but Caden Proctor is my OT1. This is a dancing bear. I think this guy has all pro potential at the next level, or he has big-time bust potential if he eats too much. I think he's got to get his weight right. If he can get under 350 for 6'7", I think he can be one of the best left tackles in the NFL. I am praying the Lions take him and match him up with, pair him up with Penei Sewell on the right side, because I think that could be the most dominant tackle duo in the NFL, but we'll see. I kept all the tackles similar here because I have Proctor above the rest because I think the data points to him improving and the tools for him being the best. He is the youngest of them. He is not even 21 yet. And that's why I have him slightly above Fano and Mawanoa, who are my 15th and 16th players. They played more on the right side. Proctor is a left tackle. Mawanoa can play more interior, though, a little more versatile. So I think Fano is going to be the first tackle drafted if I were to bet money on it. But that is my order. I have Proctor, Fano, then Mawanoa. That brings us to number 17, who is Mekhi Lemon. So I'm a little lower on Lemon than the rest. Again, we all saw the interviews at the podium. We all, everyone does the character concerns or whatever. I'm not too worried about it. Honestly, wide receivers are kind of all like that, personality-wise. So I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing at the next level, truly, for him. So, but he doesn't really have the size or speed or athleticism. That's my thing. Like, he has great body control and he makes some ridiculous catches, but like, I'm not really seeing the speed with Lemon compared to others, but he did win the Biletnikoff Award for best receiver. And a lot of people are higher on him than others. I honestly, I would think the Rams might be a nice destination for him at pick 13 because he already lives in Southern California and they could be using a wide receiver 3 in this class. So again, you'll see Lemon higher on other people's boards. A lot of people have him as their wide receiver 1. I'm not seeing that. I think Tyson clears him as a wide receiver prospect, but that's just me. But I still think Lemon is a top 20 player for sure and will go higher than I have him. So, all right, 18, I got Akeem Mesidor. So I love Mesidor, but he might not be everyone's cup of tea. He's going to be 25 on. I believe he is 25 now. I said on draft night, which is tomorrow. So 92.5 PFF grade. Had more sacks than Bain this year. So Bain only had 9.5. Mesidor, I think, had like 11.5. So the production actually is in Mesidor's favor, but he's also 3 years older than Bain is anyway. It might be 4, actually. So take that as you will. Bain has way more meat on the bone. But we're talking with Mesidor. He is pro-ready, NFL-ready. This guy is a leader. This guy does everything right. This is a guy you want bringing in your locker room, bringing on your defensive line to help the talent, help bridge the gap, help on some early pass rushing downs, whatever you need him to do. Best way I can put it is this guy is pro-ready. He's ready to go, locked and loaded. I think he could absolutely go to a team who's trying to win a Super Bowl next season and be an instant impact player for them. 19, we got Vega Ioane. So the best guard in the NCAA this season, the best guard prospect in this class. So no surprise here. Vega's tape is fantastic for the interior line position. There's not many who rival him. We'll get to Emmanuel Pregna a little lower on this list, but I think Vega is going to go higher than this, actually, because I think there's some teams who really need help on the interior line, and I think Baltimore. I think he's in play for Baltimore at 14, so we'll see. Number 20 is a player I like. more than others. A lot of people have Peter Woods as their DT1. I have Caden McDonald as mine. I think he's the best run defender in this class. I think it's not close, actually. I think he's an elite run stuffer. Had a 90 run defense grade this past season, 86.7 overall for Ohio State Buckeyes. Drafting Ohio State defensive players is such a safe pick, man. This guy is not going to be a sexy pick to whoever he goes. He's not going to put up crazy pass rushing numbers or sack totals or whatever, but he is going to make your team better. He is going to make your defense better. He is going to plug a hole, whatever you need in the interior defensive line. And like I said, I think he's the best run defender in this class. All right, we're getting into some Clemson Tigers now. I don't know if I didn't intentionally do this, but it looks like every other player is a Clemson player for the next few. So Avion Terrell is the first one here. Star corner out of Clemson, just like his brother AJ. He's got it in his genes, family genes, the talent this guy possesses. I love Avion. I think his lack of length will limit him in some schemes, but I think his instincts and his football IQ are just second to none at the position, and I have him higher than the rest. This guy absolutely has to go in the first round. He might fall to Seattle at pick 32, literally, and they would be foolish not to take him because this guy isn't first-round talent. This guy is going to be able to do it in the league just like his brother did, and I'm not sure why he's falling down boards, to be honest. So, all right, 22 is Monroe Freeling. So this is a player you'll probably see way higher in mock drafts and big boards. I like Freeling. I was actually texting someone about this earlier because they were asking me some of my favorite tackles for this class, and I got to Freeling. I said, this guy has the ideal size and the exact look of a stud left tackle in the NFL. Looks the part, feels the part. Just hasn't quite put it all together yet. He's a good mover, but not a great one. Needs to develop a little bit more. Needs to work on his footwork for sure, but obviously has the tools to be a stud left tackle, like we said. So I'm a little lower on him, but I think with some development and good coaching in the right system, this guy can be a dude in the NFL. So I have him pick 22. I think he's in play for the Steelers because their left tackle question is up in the air. I don't know if he's ready to be a week one starter, but I definitely think this guy has some really high potential. And I think it could be a good pick for the Steelers at pick 21, Monroe Freeling. Next Clemson guy, 23 on my big board, is TJ Parker. I've said this a few times. Everything on the Clemson defense this year, take with a grain of salt because that team quit and gave up on each other by week 4. TJ Parker is still a well-rounded edge who does a lot of things really well. He is just solid at everything, but not truly elite at anything. Not really a difference maker at anything. So, I still think he's a first-round talent and can be I think he's a high-floor player almost. I think he has one of the highest floors in this draft class, and we're gonna say the same thing about his counterpart, Peter Woods, in a second, who is 25th on my big board. We'll just talk about him now. Peter Woods had a very disappointing season, but if you flip on the 2024 tape for both Parker and Woods, they were far better, and so I almost value that tape more when Clemson's season still mattered because I just think they all gave up and quit on each other last year. So that I watched that tape with a grain of salt. I have Peter Woods as my DT2, and I still think he's going to be a high-floor, impactful player on a team wherever he goes. I just don't know if either of those Clemson guys have the ceiling that maybe you were hoping for when they were preseason top 10 picks. All right, 2 receivers here. We skipped 24, so we'll go 24, 26 here. Omar Cooper and Casey Concepcion. So these guys are so close overall to me as prospects. As I'm reading this in my head, I might honestly have Casey higher and value him more as a weapon in the NFL. And I think you can do more things with Casey Concepcion. That's why I'm dying to get him to the San Francisco 49ers because I think that would be so cool. That would just work so well and fit Kyle Shanahan's offensive system so well. It would be the perfect fit in Shanahan's offense. He could think of the most creative ways, creative concepts to utilize Casey Concepcion in the offense. It would be disgusting. I want that to happen so badly. Guy is dynamic as ever, but so is Omar Cooper, who is probably the better athlete, bigger, stronger, better catch radius, goes up and makes more acrobatic catches. I would say KC's more of a slot guy, but can also play out wide and showed that he could do that all season long at A&M. So this is kind of whatever you're looking for at the receiver position, like bread and butter wise. Cooper keeps going up draft boards, man. He has strong hands, a big-time caliber athlete with a dense frame. Concepcion is just a little more versatile, but a little smaller, too, a little undersized. So that's kind of the only worry there. Another Clemson guy, 27. So I have Blake Miller as my 27th overall prospect here. Just a good tackle, solid tackle. I almost think Blake Miller has one of the highest floors among the tackles, but his ceiling is way lower than guys like Proctor, Freeling, or Ionicher, who we'll get to in a second. We'll just talk about him now. Ionicher is 29th on my big board because he hasn't been as good at just pass blocking, like at just his overall position yet, but he has some freakish athletic tools. I don't know if you watched the video of Mike Vrabel and Max Ionicher, or blocking out Max Ionicher. That video was awesome to watch. It was hilarious. And just the type of athlete Ionicher is, I wouldn't be surprised if that's who the Patriots take. But anyway, either way, I think Ionicher's athleticism and like potential is like among the highest of the tackles in the class. Blake Miller has almost one of the lowest ceilings, but feels like the safest pick of all these guys. I do think Blake Miller's in play for the Steelers at 21 as well. So Blake Miller, lower ceiling, higher floor type of tackle versus Ionicher. All right. I saved the two tight ends here because I want to make a point and kind of just separate them really quickly. So at 28 and 30 overall, I have tight end Eli Stowers as my 28th overall player, and then I have Kenyon Sadiq out of the Oregon tight end 30th. So Stowers out of Vanderbilt, again, is my tight end 1. Sadiq is my tight end 2. This is going to be the take that everyone laughs at and gets aggregated on Twitter or whatever. And I don't care. I don't care. Everyone I texted my big board to all commented on Stowers. Like, that was the one player they all texted about and was like, Stowers? Whoa. Like, I love this guy, man. This is one of my favorite players in the draft class. I might have to just label him as my guy. You always have to pick a guy for the draft class that it might just be my guy for the class, and we're just rolling with it. So I think Stowers is just a natural pass catcher, man. I don't even label him as a tight end. I believe Mike Renner called him a wide receiver on my show, which he might just be a wide receiver at the next level. I think the Chiefs need to take this guy at pick 29 or wherever their second pick is and run with it. And I think he can be Mahomes' next tight end, wide receiver, whatever you want to call him. He can be his next go-to guy, his next target, his next weapon. So the production Stowers has put on display, the tape he has put out, the stats he's put up in college football, just as a pass catcher, tight end position, has been second to none compared to Sadiq. It has been far better tape, far better production than Sadiq has put on. Sadiq is just the better blocker, projects more as like a typical natural fitted tight end at the next level, which Stowers projects less as like a natural fitting tight end. Doesn't block as much. Legitimately a bad blocker, which I know people are worried about. However, you look at their PFF grades, 81.6 for Stowers, 70.4 for Sadiq. Sadiq does not warrant a lot of target share and just does not get the targets that you would expect out of him in the past few seasons at Oregon. There's meat on the bone there. I kept waiting for more, and that is why this one I'm just like, I just think Stowers is better. I just think he's better. I know he had a much higher usage rate than Sadiq did, and Oregon's receivers, the other tight ends, were better as well. This is one I think we're going to look back on and overthink it and just see all along that Stowers was the better player all along. If he can put on some weight and become a better blocker, improve more in that aspect, I think he can be an absolute weapon at the tight end position at the next level. And I think he tested out the wazoo. So did Sadiq, not knocking him for that, but Stowers is just as good of an athlete, just as tall, I believe, just not as strong, not as doesn't weigh as much. But if he can put on some pounds, I think Stowers is the better tight end, and I think that'll be one we look back on and question why Sadiq was this high. So, not knocking Sadiq. Again, I'm just a little lower on him than the consensus, but that's just me. So, all right, pick 31 here. I wanted to get this guy in the first 32 as to make a point about tape over traits. I'm just making a point with this player, Cassius Howe here. I love Cassius Howe, and I think he's going to be an absolute player at the next level. I think he will be a good pro, and I am not worried about the measurables. I am making this point to say screw the measurables. I know he tested with the second shortest arm length at the combine ever. I don't care on this one. The production and the tape matters more to me, and I'm here to make a point of that. 81.2 PFF grade, 12.5 sacks. I believe he was like one of the highest in the nation among sacks, was elite against Miami, good all season long in Mike Elko's defense. He's a game wrecker, man. If you watch the force this guy plays with, the energy he brings on the defensive line, I love this player, and so that's why I'm keeping him in my top 32. This is one where I don't care what the draft measurements are telling me. I'm ignoring the second shortest arms. Player 32. Now, I wanted to put Ty Simpson as my 32nd overall prospect because I wanted to label him as a first rounder. In my book, he is a first round talent. He is a first round prospect. I do believe he will go in the first round. I have not really mocked him in many first rounds. I don't really love many landing spots for him. I haven't loved that many fits for him. I think you're getting much better value for him in day 2 if you're Arizona or New York or the Rams or whoever's looking at him. But his projection, his tools, his physique, his play style, his processing speed, it warrants a first-round pick. It justifies a first-round pick, just not top 10 or top 3 like some draft scouts are saying. But I like Ty Simpson. I've comped him to Mac Jones on this show a couple times. I think that's kind of a fair projection for him. And I think Mac actually put up way better numbers. He did put up way better numbers in college at Alabama, but I think Simpson's a better athlete than him and has a little better arm as well. That's the one thing I'll give Simpson in this class. I think he has the best arm in this draft class among quarterbacks, but I just think the 15 starts is a little concerning for him. There's not good track record of one-year starters succeeding in the NFL, and I don't know if he's ready. So I just think he needs more time. I think in day 2 in the second round, it's almost like a steal for Ty Simpson's value, though. So, all right, moving on. Last 7 players. Those are my first-round picks right there. Those are my first-round talents, first-round prospects. 7 more on here for you. Jacob Rodriguez, J-Rod. This guy was an absolute animal last year in college football. The best linebacker in college football, the best defensive player in all of college football. What do you have, like 7 forced fumbles, 93 PFF grade, just everywhere on the field. There was a reason why Texas Tech's defense was so good this year. There's a reason why all their defensive players are getting drafted this year. Just flip on the tape for him. I was wondering why more people were not talking about J-Rod until a few weeks ago. And now I think he might sneak up into the top in the first round. I really do. Number 34, another Tennessee Volunteer cornerback here. That is Colton Hood. Now, this guy plays with speed and finesse. This guy is so talented, just needs a little bit of development. Only one full season as a starter this year in Tennessee, but he was fantastic for them. He was great in coverage, 79.2 PFF grade. The speed this guy possesses, the natural talent, the physical tools, I think he's got some CB1 potential in the NFL. He's not as good as his counterpart, Jermon McCoy. He didn't get to play with him this season, but I think this guy is going to be a stud in the NFL for some team. So fast, man. Just watch the tape. Fun player to watch. One of my favorite corners to watch this year. Some elite speed. So, all right, back-to-back Georgia players here. I didn't do this intentionally, but we got C.J. Allen and Christian Miller. So I actually would probably flip-flop these now that I'm looking at them because I think Christian Miller's way better at his position than C.J. Allen, but there's some good linebackers in this draft class, and I do think C.J. Allen is going to go above Christian Miller, but there's one of the best run defenders in the class, and Allen is one of the best tacklers in this class. So, physical, he kind of reminds me of Nakobe Dean, honestly, a former Georgia linebacker. Allen's a physical, reliable middle linebacker. Both these guys are good run defenders. That was the strength of Georgia this past season. They were not really a rush to passer team, but Miller has good frame, good length, good frame, good twitch for an interior guy, good first step. But I think the biggest thing is best part about this guy's games are they extremely reliable run defenders, and you need that in the NFL. So, pick 37s, or not pick 37. Player 37 on my board, who might go up a little bit because I actually think he's going to go to the Philadelphia Eagles now that I'm seeing A.J. Brown trade discussions and trade comps. So Denzel Boston from the Washington Huskies. So I'm a little lower on Boston than the rest. I think he's my wide receiver 6. So I've seen him in like some people's wide receiver 3s even, but a lot of people have him first round. I have him 37th on my board. I do think he will go in the top 30 in the first round at least. And I actually think he fits the Eagles perfectly now. The exact same style receiver, big, strong at the catch point receiver, just like A.J. Brown. That might be his comp. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as A.J. Brown is in the NFL, but if Philly's looking for an A.J. Brown replacement, you might want to look at Denzel Boston. So, all right, 38, Emmanuel Pregnon, second best guard in this class, second best interior O-lineman in this class. Oregon's offensive lineman was dominant this year. It was honestly amazing. Like all 5 of them are like pro prospects, I think. Like I know you got Isaiah World and Alex Harkey, the tackles, and then Pregnon in the middle was dominant all season long, 86.7 PFF grade. I could see a world where he goes first round because there are teams who desperately need interior line play. There are teams who desperately need guards. I'm not saying I would do it. I value guards a little lower. But this guy, the Chargers, for example, Los Angeles Chargers had the worst offensive line we've ever seen this year, and their interior guards were terrible. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Jim Harbaugh reach for Pregnon at 24, wherever they're picking, 22. And it might not be that big of a reach because of how big of a need it is and how valuable Pregnon was as a guard last year for Oregon. So, all right, my last 2 players on my big board. So, tackle Caleb Lamu, the left tackle, opposite side of Spencer Fano. Now, this guy has been getting overlooked because of how good Fano is. But he's well built, man. He's a great ascending tackle prospect with really strong foundation, really good footwork, really strong legs. Only a 68.4 PFF grade, but I think there's some elite physical traits that this guy has. And again, I think opposing teams and opposing defenses and pass rushers like all took their game plan to the left side against Lamu versus Fano on the right side. I can't say if that's true or not, but that's what I believe. So, like, you can always kind of take that with a grain of salt, too, if, like, you're overloading one side of the line versus the other, depending on which lineman is on what side. So, all right. My last player on my top 40 big board here, I had to get this guy on here because he's just one of my favorite players in all of college football last year. That is D'Angelo Pons, baby, from the University of Indiana. Ducks on the Ponds, the best cornerback for Indiana Hoosiers, the national championship winning Indiana Hoosiers, 89.9 PFF grade. Don't tell this guy how small he is. Don't tell him his height because he's gonna prove you wrong. He's gonna go out and play above that. He's gonna play stronger. He's gonna play bigger than he is, bigger than you think he is. He is listed at 5'9", but he plays like he's 6'3". Pons plays with passion, plays with urgency, plays with energy. You can tell this guy wants to destroy you on every single snap. Guys like that can play for my team any day of the week. That's why I have faith he'll be successful in the league. I don't care about the measurables. I don't care about how small he is. I know he's more of a slot corner and probably will be at the next level, but I think the energy this guy brings and just the I hate to say just the anticipation, but the attitude, that stuff matters to me. I value players like Pons. This is a guy you'll just randomly look up and see picked off your favorite quarterback in a couple years from now. And we'll be like, wow, how did Pons fall so far in the draft? So that is why he's making my top 40 here. All right. That is all I've got for you guys today. Appreciate you listening to my final top 40 big board for the 2026 NFL draft. That is all I've got for you guys today. Appreciate you listening to The Point After with Mitch Kaiser. I am Mitch Kaiser, your host. I will be back tomorrow morning for one last mock draft episode. Again, I'm going to do 2 mock drafts live tomorrow morning for you. We're going to do a predictive mock, and then I'm going to offer a mock of what I would do if I were drafting in the GMs of all these teams, based on this big board that I just gave you guys. So there you go. That is my final top 40 big board. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to The Point After with Mitch Kaiser below. And have a great rest of your day. Can't wait for draft day tomorrow.